Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Fallen London. We are continuing with Fallen London's exceptional story, Fading to a Coda. The Growling Radical's performance presents two problems. Firstly, he's having you write the lyrics to a song that could have unknown physical effects on the audience. All manner of powerful people are likely to have opinions about that. And secondly, he's being pursued by a society devoted to bandaging the elderly, and they've associated you with him. You spot the material critic heading to the singing mandrake. She's unlikely to know about the working of the society, but she hears a lot of music. Perhaps she knows something about that sort of music. So we have two options. We can either fill her glass, the critic likes a drink, and she might be more voluble with the blood of the mushroom inside her. Or we can play on her nature. Though her reviews can be forthright, the critic is soft-hearted when it comes to the safety of artists. Perhaps she'll tell you something. I'm kind of against getting people drunk, so let's go with play on her nature. You explain the connection between the Growling Radical, the Topsy King, and that sort of music. The critic sighs and opens a bottle. You two are going to get yourself exiled, and no mistake. The critic pours out a glass and focuses on you. This has happened before. Did you hear about that opera? These songs can make an audience feel something profound, something real. They're beautiful, but many can't cope with the depth of emotion. The masters hate them, sends them into a frightful rage. What do you think it does to their minds? The critic gets up and leaves, shaking her head. It's time to confront the Growling Radical. He'll probably be in your cellar venue. You return to the cellar venue. The Growling Radical is absent. Several messages have been left for you concerning practicalities of the performance. Most are of little import, but one stands out. It's on heavy, expensive paper and bears the seal of the special constables. This is not something to be ignored. There's a crate with it. It's probably entirely innocent. You unfold the weighty note. There is no clock here, but if there were, it would tick more slowly. You are charged and commanded. The special constables want a booth set aside. Oh, one seat, space for 4 to stand, a table. A master of the Bazaar is coming to see the performance. The performance where the Growling Radical is going to let flow with a song that has unknown emotional and physical effects. A song with your name on the credits. Oh no! The crate contains bottles of expensive liquor. There's absinthe and rare mushroom wine. It has to be Mr. Wines who's coming. What does it want? Mr. Wines is capricious and can be savage to those who annoy it. You'd best speak with its servant, Gervais, at the carnival to find out more. Wow, we remember this man from a previous exceptional story. Miss Plenty's most distracting carnival has not changed from 1 because it's higher than 0. Okay. I said that wrong last time. I said Miss Plenty's carnival or something. I mispronounced it. I apologize. You find Gervais, chief among Mr. Wine's servants, under the coloured carbide lamps illuminating the beneath the neath ride. He's in a convivial humour today. His breath smells of old port. Aha! Our gallant impresario! I hope you're going to provide something special for our entertainment. Clearly, he was expecting your visit. You'll have to be careful about asking Mr. Wine's intentions. You motion him aside to behind Apestia's tent. We can either bribe him to talk or simply ask. 3 bottles of, well, we have 233 bottles of Strangling Widow absinthe, so maybe we should try this one. I know I said I wasn't in the habit of giving people alcohol to make them tell me things, but this is a bit different. Hand back for safekeeping the absinthe Mr. Wines left for you. Perhaps this will be sufficient lubrication. Gervais takes the bottle with a smile and a nod. I, for one, am looking forward to the show. He pulls out a knife to uncork the bottle. You see, the boss sort of likes music, makes him forget, makes him giddy, and your mate looks like to be putting together something very rare. If Mr. Wines comes away all pleased, it might show an old dog a bit of kindness. Gervais's face falls into a scowl. But if it's too much and it's sick on it, there will be regrets aplenty. I hope you know what you're creating. Gervais's eyes lose their humour for a moment. You shrug. Evidence is mounting that the Radical is playing with fire and has drawn you in without your full knowledge. You'll have to decide what you think about that, but first you'll need a way to encourage the Radical to talk. But first we need to deal with the Society of Upright Persons. You need to have matters out with the Growling Radical. He'll be more likely to be honest with you if he feels you're on his side. If you can tell him the society has been dealt with, he'll owe you. They want to bundle him off to the tomb colonies. How are you going to stop them? So we can use our religious contacts, which uses our renown. While nominally secular, the society's member includes several clergy. The threat of a scandalous exposure should encourage them to pick another target. We can invoke the law. The society has no official backing, and kidnapping is a crime. It's time for a frank expression of views via the good offices of your solicitor. Or we can persuade the society that the Radical has a place in the city. The society can pick few targets. Perhaps you could convince them that the Radical shouldn't be on their list. Let's use our religious contacts. That's what we've got them for. The curate you're speaking to seems almost relieved when he agrees to halt the pursuit of the Growling Radical. We won't miss trying to renew him. He's a rough sort, even for a music hall singer. The curate puts down his teacup. But tell him it was for his own good, won't you? Tell him we can't have crumbling old things walking the streets and frightening people. It's not proper, and he's probably a threat to public health by now. If he changes his mind, we'll be here with the bandages. You've done what you can. The Growling Radical must surely now reveal what he's up to. Go back to your cellar venue to see if he has returned. The cellar is one big room. Dusty cupboards hide the backstage area, and the stage itself sits on low cabinets. Your stagehands have furnished tables, chairs, and a bar. You find the Growling Radical pacing the stage. The Radical has a thoroughly annotated copy of your song lyrics. The performance is the day after tomorrow. So we can demand he tell you what he's up to with the music, but warm him up by letting him know about your intervention with the Society of Upright Persons first. Thanks for getting those idiots off me tail. Nobody but me decides when I'm done for. He rasps his cane on the floor with emphasis. You've been a good friend, better than I deserve, I suppose. You're right. I've not been straight with you. He sits down heavily at the edge of your makeshift stage. That was wrong, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry about everything, but I couldn't risk. You had to. Look, it's the end for me. 50 years in the business and a curtain falls. It has to mean something, right? Right. So let's talk about music, and maybe you'll forgive me. Is this it? The truth from the Growling Radical? The Radical opens a bottle of porter from a crate behind the stage. Oh, old Tristram had it right. Power in music. Something about language I didn't get. Anyway, I can use it a bit. I'll show you. I need to keep this odd key progression and think like a burning god. The Radical clambers to the stage and invites you to seat in the middle of the cellar. To listen to a private performance. You good and comfortable? Asks the Radical as you sit down. Not for long. The Radical roars out one note and then raises his voice 2 or so octaves to an eerie hum. Red tinged black symbols appear on his skin and yours. Fierce blue sparks skip from the brass fittings. The Radical stops singing and the symbols fade away. You see it, don't you? How it works. I originally thought about just showing a hint of it, just to show that we can. But no, there's a cloak coming, and I want it to know all of what we can do. That they should fear us, even if the demonstration kills me. And the audience. Oh dear. The Growling Radical passes you annotated lyrics. Could you change this? Make it count. Make it as powerful as it can be. Whatever this does, I want it done right good and solid. I don't think I can go along with this. See, you've lost me at I don't care even if the demonstration kills me and the audience. You want to do something as a symbol and it's against yourself, fair enough, but taking the audience with you? I don't think so, my dear friend. I don't think so. Okay, so a moment of contemplation. The Growling Radical has asked you to amplify the unusual effects of the new song. He claims that he's finally being open with you. Still, prior to now, he hasn't been entirely honest. His motivations may not match your own. So why are you still helping him? After making this choice, you can choose whether to make the song powerful or not. We have quite a lot of options here. So we can choose friendship. The Radical is your friend, and one should look out for one's friends. We could choose art. The Growling Radical as a man matters little compared to his art. Choose revolution. The Radical is a paragon for the revolutionary spirit. Choose curiosity. A life with the Radical involved is at least more interesting. Or we can choose doing the right thing. It's best that you're there to guide him. Ooh. I'm gonna go with curiosity. You wouldn't miss this performance for a modest portion of the world. We get to finish the song. The Growling Radical wants some revisions to your song. Will you encourage the music's more profound effects, as he asked, or will you dampen down its power? We can make it as potent as possible. Art must not be constrained, even if it's the sort of art that cracks the windows and sandpapers the mind. Or we can reduce the song's power to a whisper. This will be safer for all concerned, and perhaps the merest trifle of power in the song will amuse Mr. Wines. See, I've come to a bit of an impasse. There's a small part of me that's interested to see what the song could do, but then the moral core inside of me doesn't want anyone else to get hurt. So it's a battle between curiosity and a moral high ground. You know what? I'm gonna have to go with my morals on this one, I think. You can't tell for certain what causes the unusual effects, so you alter everything. Is it the rhythm? You can change it halfway through. The subject? You take a tangent in the second verse. You work all night. When you're done, you've got it well balanced. There's still something profound about the song, but it lacks its previous resonance. It's still beautiful, but it's difficult to pin down anything notable. Perfect. The Growling Radical won't quickly forgive this betrayal. It's for the best. He, the audience, and, definitely worth mentioning, your good self will be significantly safer as a result. The curtain goes up tomorrow. To Vale Garden then. So it's the night of the performance. You've joined the Growling Radical backstage. He has your song, and you're sure his shaking and retching will pass in a moment. You peek out at the audience. The seats around the tables are filled, but for an area near the back around one particularly cloaked guest and his escort of special constables. You note that a pair from the Society of Upright Persons are standing uncomfortably in a corner. The warm-up act has been amiably booed off. Mr. Wines catches your eye and pats the seat next to it with long, gloved fingers. The Growling Radical straightens himself and lifts his thumb. It's time. Let's sit down next to Mr. Wines for the performance. How bad can this go? You step towards Mr. Wines' table. The audience is expectant and somewhat inebriated. You give a nod to the stagehand holding the curtain rope. The cellar is crowded with wealthy bohemians. The boneless pianist takes his seat to applause. A ragged roar from the crowd marks the Growling Radical's entrance. There is no planned song list. The Growling Radical strides onto the stage and sings whatever he likes. He opens with brass. But when you see Mr. Wines in the audience, he kicks over the Duke's bust and follows with cloaks. The audience gasp and turn, but Mr. Wines chuckles and raises its glass in salute. The Growling Radical catches your eye across the smoky cellar. He winks at you, spits on the floor again, and signals the boneless pianist to start the introduction to your song. The crowd falls silent. The initial measures pass without incident. The Growling Radical's bass voice rasps out the first lyrics. Okay, so listen to a song about you. Ah, isn't that nice? The Growling Radical took some convincing to sing about you. Your line about a metaphor for all justified ambition got him on side, however. The Growling Radical signals at the boneless pianist to slow down so he can enunciate every word. This crowd loves stories of hauling oneself from the gutter and stomp along happily. The song was a hymn to ambition when you wrote it, but spat and rasped by the Growling Radical, it sounds like a paean for vanity, an ode to hubris. Is that what he thinks? Is that what they all think of you? No, it must be the fundamental effects of the music. Your confidence is unshakable, isn't it? The Growling Radical strides the stage, the years falling from him. The audience in the cramped cellar hang on his words as he gets to the emotional meat of the piece. The crowd clap and stomp. They can't wait to join in at the chorus. The Growling Radical isn't used to sing-alongs, but he doesn't seem to mind when the crowd joins in. Only a bear, or perhaps a chain-smoking spider council, could match the Radical's tones. So the crowd improvise what could politely be termed harmonies. Two steamers colliding would produce a more harmonious noise, but everyone is enjoying themselves. Mr. Wines lists dangerously to port on its seat and screeches out a high counterpoint that sets your teeth on edge. The skin on your neck tightens. Pale lights form at the edge of your vision. The Growling Radical has begun the last verse, one way or another. This is the finale. The Growling Radical is singing the final verse. He surveys the audience and frowns. He sings louder, stepping to the edge of the stage. His eye twitch to you. Is his final performance coming to nothing? We can meet the Radical's gaze. The Radical understands that you've crippled the music. Nonetheless, off blue motes of light crowd the edges of your vision. There's still some power here. As the song concludes, the motes abate, but the sensation remains. A fundamental connection to the others in the dim cellar. A whisper of lies. A brush with memory. A hint of love. The Radical is silent. The audience is frozen in a moment of quiet wonder. Mr. Wines takes 2 attempts to stand, applauding. Such wicked impropriety, such piquant vanity. We are overcome. It steadies itself on the table and gazes at the Radical. We must do something with you. We shall give you the same offer we gave Miriam. Mr. Wines sways out, with 2 constables supporting it and the other pair frog-marching the Radical. Oh no. I mean, he says a deal. Who's Miriam? I feel like I should know who that is. I don't. Apparently we're here to speak to Fade into a Coda, a new mask. He's wearing a pearled jacket and a carnival mask, but that voice can only belong to the Growling Radical. Is Miriam the owner of the carnival? He's standing straighter. The walking cane is gone and his hair's grown back. But it's him. Never had a job before. Pays good. He makes a drinking motion. Got to stay away from the likes of you, though. He winks. Well, specifically you. You're a bad influence. He offers his hand as a goodbye. Well, we're going to have to shake a hand. No one ever does that. No one ever does. Like, if you don't shake someone's hand, that's up there as a massive insult. Say goodbye to the old singer. A tear leaks from the edge of the mask. He squares his shoulders. I won't thank you. I wanted to show him something before I went. He looks away from you towards the river. And you took that from me. But this'll do. He turns and heads into the carbide-lit tent. He sings as he goes, his singing voice sharp and golden like cider. The song is new. I guess he got given some of that, is it Hesperian cider? Something like that? Makes you kind of live forever, I guess. An observer at the carnival, a party of drunk tradesmen move away towards the mirror tent, revealing a physician from the Society of Upright Persons, standing alone in the shadow of a ticket booth. She had been watching the Radical, but she notices you and nods. What does the Society think of the new Radical? The physician has been writing in a notebook. She puts it away and ducks under a guy rope to speak with you. So it looks like the Radical is staying after all. It's not what the Society planned, but the Masters have clearly changed him enough that, well, I don't think he's within our bailiwick any longer. There are those in the societies that think differently, of course, but it's clear that our efforts would be better spent elsewhere. She gazes out at the carnival crowds. This pandemonium is probably the best place for him now. In any case, good evening. The boneless pianist is at your door, holding a bottle and a little suitcase. He shrugs more shoulders than the usual number and waves his face diffidently. It seems he didn't share in the fate of the Growling Radical. The pianist glances at his suitcase and then looks meaningfully to you. Then, with a series of eye-watering gestures, he conveys that he believes his fate to be in your hands. What will you do with him? Oh, so we have a few options here. We can invite him to stay for the love of music. Life is more bearable with a musical accompaniment. Invite him to stay out of kindness. The poor fellow has lost his only friend and has nowhere to go. How could you leave him outside? Invite him in to keep an eye on him. The pianist know at least a little about potent music. You should be where you can watch him. Or we can reluctantly send him away, take the bottle and gently close the door. The pianist must be responsible for his own fate. I love the way we take the bottle, that's just extra brutal. Spurn the pianist. Take the bottle and slam the door. You've no need of rubbery musicians. Well, I do like music. Let's invite him to the stay for the love of music. He is a pianist and I love the piano. The boneless pianist places his annotated copy of your song and the bottle he brought on your table, and then curls up under the table to sleep. You'll need to be educated in civilized sleeping arrangements, but you recall a few moments in your life where musical accompaniment would have been just the ticket. The pianist doesn't eat much, and over the weeks you become accustomed to his presence. While he keeps to himself, you can almost always hear him. If there's no piano handy, he'll improvise with 2 pairs of spoons. If he misses the Growling Radical, he never lets you know. And this concludes the exceptional story, Fading to a Coda. And now we have been joined by the boneless pianist. Why do I get a feeling that that's gonna be just in a story at some point? It's gonna be if you have a pianist, there he is! So, that is the end of Fading to a Coda. I enjoyed that quite a lot. It was a very linear experience with, I guess if you took different choices, if you had a powerful song, things would change. If anyone did do that, I am interested in what happened. Please let me know down below. I kind of did the safe thing and didn't blow up the place with correspondence music, is all I can guess it is. So, thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, let me know what you think. Your comments are greatly appreciated. And as always, I'll see you next time.